Good afternoon and welcome to our Lunch and Learn today, which will be about our Career and College Promise program. My name is Jenny Ferguson and I'm one of the recruiters here at the community college. So we are very excited to have you with us. Just a couple of reminders, this will be recorded. If you would like the presentation sent to you or anything, please just send me your email address in the chat box and I'll be happy to send it to you. We will also be streaming live on Facebook. And if you have any questions during the presentation, if you will just put those in the chat box, we will be happy to get those answered. So without further ado, I'm going to turn it over to Anissa Wall, our director of our Career and College Promise program.
All right, good afternoon. Thank you guys for joining us today. I'm excited to share a little bit about Career and College Promise, or CCP, might be a common term that you've heard in your high schools. So just to kick us off, I'm going to give you just a brief overview of what it is. So Career and College Promise is a statewide initiative that offers high school students an opportunity to get an early start on their college education. So whether that be towards a 2-year degree or a 4-year degree, students across all of North Carolina have this opportunity. And I think that's important to note. It is not specific to Davidson-Davie or to your high school or our district. It is something that's available across the whole state. There are lots of benefits to participating in Career and College Promise. And one of the first ones that usually gets people excited is it's free. So all of our tuition and fees are free to students in this program. So it's a great way for you to get a sneak peek into a career or field of study. I often tell students that if you are interested in a specific area, for example, engineering or something like that, and you want to get a little sneak peek to see what that's like, maybe you feel like that's what you want to do, but you could take a class with us and maybe get a better feel of what that program offers and help you decide, is this something that I really want to pursue? So you can do that without having to waste any money once you graduate and go off to college. We have a lot of opportunities for students in different programs, and so that's a great benefit that's part of CCP. It also allows you to ease into college level work. I tell students all the time, high school is very different than college. And so just getting acclimated to that different kind of environment, the different expectations and the rigor, it's helpful for you to get a jump start into that and kind of ease in so that when you do graduate high school and go off to college, that you feel better prepared. And then you get to know what it takes to be successful in college. Again, it's different. And so you learn what a true college class is like. We have faculty who teach these classes. It's not anything specific to high school students. You are incorporated into our regular college courses. And so I will tell you that data does show that students who participate in a dual enrollment program, they do perform better once they go off to college because they've gotten acclimated to that kind of environment and they know what it's like to be a college student, how to be successful. You also, as a student, would have access to all of Davidson-Davie's student resources, and there's a number of those. Also, any of the activities that we have on campus you can participate in. We have free tutoring. We have disability access services. So if you have any type of accommodation that's in your high school and you're a little apprehensive about doing college while you're in school or still a high school student, we have staff on board here that can help you make that transition smooth so that you can be successful. As far as on the high school side, you do earn credit for the courses that you take with us. So that term dual enrollment means you're enrolled at both places and you're getting credit at both places. So when you take a class with us, it's going to go on your college transcript, but it will also go on your high school transcript. And so you're really just getting that double benefit. There are some classes that do overlap into your core requirements. So for example, if you need American history, you can take American history with the college, and then it counts for your American history on the high school side. So it's kind of a one and done kind of thing. And so that's really helpful for students to get ahead. Also, for our college transfer courses, and we're going to talk about what college transfer is in just a minute, but you do receive AP weight on your high school GPA. And so sometimes That could be a pull. Students are really particular about their GPA, making sure they boost that up before they apply to colleges. And so everything you take within our college transfer pathway does give you the AP weight on your high school transcript. So I've mentioned pathways, and there's a couple different opportunities for you. The first one being college transfer. And this pathway is really designed for students who plan to go off to a four-year college. So if you have any plans to go to a university when you graduate, whether that means you do a 2-year degree at community college first and then transfer on, or if you plan to do that as soon as you graduate high school, college transfer has classes that are within those first 2 years at a university. So things like English, math, science, psychology, all those general things that you sometimes may not even feel like are super important. They are required for you when you go to get a baccalaureate degree. And so this is a great way for you to get early start on those. So again, this is the group that would give you the AP weight on your transcript. For the career and technical education, we have about 30 pathways that are available to high school students. And those are things like automotive, welding, cosmetology, pharmacy, nurse aid. There's a number of them that are available. And these pathways really are geared to yield you a certificate when you finish. If you finish your pathway and you decide that you want to go beyond and take additional classes, you certainly can do that. And that's all going to lead into your associate's degree if that's what you plan to pursue. So the classes within the CTE area, those generally do not transfer. There are a select few that may, but in general, those are going to be more just classes geared towards a 2-year associate's degree. Toward the college transfer, we do have an agreement with all the state-supported universities, as well as a lot of the privates within North Carolina, that if you make a C or better in those classes, they are guaranteed to transfer over. So there are some eligibility requirements. So I'm going to talk about those for each age group or each grade level. For juniors and seniors, really the key for you is just to make sure you have an unweighted high school GPA of 2.8 or higher. If you've got that GPA, then you're good. You're eligible for the program. There's nothing else you really have to jump through. If you recall, if you've known people who've done this program in the past, there used to be testing required. And so for a lot of students, that was kind of a deterrent. But that barrier has been removed. And now we just look at your GPA. And so if you've got that 2.8, you're good. If you happen to be below that, say you have a 2.5 unweighted GPA, but you're still interested, we can look at test scores. The tests that we would look at are a PSAT, an SAT, pre-ACT, or an ACT, or you could take a college test with us. It's called the RISE assessment, and you could take that on our campus to place in as well. Students have done that in the past and been successful. For freshmen and sophomores, this one is a little bit more detailed, and that's because it's a little bit more criteria there than what the juniors and seniors have to do. And I will tell you, this is brand new. So this just went into place in summer of 2020. Prior, freshmen and sophomores could not participate in college transfer pathways. So this is new, and we're very excited that this opportunity is available. So the first thing is to make sure that you are identified as AIG in English, reading, and math. If you are a private school student, then there are some aptitude and achievement tests that you can take to also meet this criteria. But for our public school students, you would just need to provide documentation that you are AIG in English, reading, and math. In addition to that, you would demonstrate college readiness on an approved assessment. And so those assessments that I mentioned earlier, the ACT, SAT, or even our assessment at the college, you would have to do testing if you're a freshman or sophomore. Or if you've already got scores, obviously just submit those. Outside of that, it's really just a bunch of signatures to make sure that you're approved to come in. So your principal would write a recommendation to let us know they feel like you will be successful and that you've got the maturity to enroll in college courses. Your AIG coordinator would sign off for you and provide that documentation. Our vice president would also approve you to come in, and then your parent or guardian would also sign as well. So a little bit of extra steps here, but definitely achievable. We have several students across the county right now who are doing this, and they're being very successful. Last thing we would do is just make sure you receive some advising from the college, just to let you know what college is like, talk about the rigor and make sure that you feel comfortable before you get started. For CTE eligibility, we'll talk about juniors and seniors first. Again, that unweighted 2.8 GPA is kind of the ticket in, right? If you've got that, you're eligible for any of our pathways. If you don't have that, you can take the test or submit test scores. But if you'll notice, there's an extra or in there. And so for career technical education, if you don't have the GPA and you don't have the readiness scores, but your principal really feels like this is a good match for you, say you really enjoy hands-on learning and they feel like you'll be successful in a technical program, your principal can write a recommendation and waive you in. So that's something that's a little bit different with CTE versus the college transfer. So just keep that in mind if you have an interest in something like welding or automotive, something like that.
Anissa, we do have one question, and
okay.
We've responded to it in the chat, but I thought it would be good just to mention. The question is, in order to take classes at DDCC your senior year, do you have to take them your junior year as well?
Good question. So you do not. You can start at any point. So if you're a senior and you want to enroll, you definitely can do that. You don't have to start in junior year. All right. So CTE for freshmen and sophomores, there's a couple different options here. The first and second option, really for public school students, the first option is really the ideal way to come in. I will tell you that's easier than having to do our placement test. So if you can come in this way, I think this is recommended, or at least from our perspective, I think probably the easier way to come in. For students who are currently rising freshmen and sophomores, if you don't have the scores that are listed in option 1, if you look down to the bottom, there's a temporary option, and this is in place because of COVID. So last year, some of the testing that would normally be done at the end of the school year was not able to be completed. And so the state has put in a temporary option. So for example, if you don't have Math 1 score of C or better due to your testing, then obviously you can use this temporary option to come in. So I would recommend this. As with the others, you can also have a recommendation from your principal and submit test scores. But again, I think that looking at your Math 1, your EOC scores, your English assessment, those types of things are going to be the easiest way for you to enroll. So one thing I'll mention too here is that we have a scholarship that's designed for students who participate in Career and College Promise. And this is specific to our college. So students who participate in Career and College Promise with us, and they complete 12 credit hours while in high school. So 12 credit hours, you may not understand quite what that means, but that's generally about 4 classes. So if you were to complete 4 classes while in high school and maintain a C average, so that's a 2.0 GPA, and you were to also keep a 2.8 unweighted in your high school, and then plan to come to DDCC or Davidson-Davie once you graduate, then you would be eligible for an additional year of free tuition. So a student who comes to us, we'll say a junior, you can take classes for free in your junior year, classes for free in your senior year, and then with the Advantage Scholarship, you have the opportunity to have an additional year of free tuition. So the way this scholarship works, if you receive any kind of other scholarship money or financial aid funds, then those would pay first. Advantage would not necessarily be needed, okay? So it wouldn't be in addition to what you receive from other sources. But what's really great about Advantage is that there's a lot of students who maybe they don't qualify for any kind of free aid from the FAFSA. And so if that's the case, then that's when Advantage would kick in to make sure your tuition is covered. So what I tell students generally is, regardless of what pot of money it comes from, if you meet this criteria, you are guaranteed a year of free tuition. So definitely keep this in mind as you plan for the future. If you want to complete a 2-year associate's degree with the community college and then transfer out to your university, you can essentially get that done without paying any tuition or fees. So this is a great option, one that I wish I had whenever I was in high school, but definitely something for you to keep in mind. If you're interested in participating in Career and College Promise, the first step is really to talk to your CDC at your high school. So each high school has a CDC housed usually in the guidance office. And what they'll do is first look at your transcript to verify your eligibility, just to make sure you meet the criteria. And then they're also going to look at your graduation requirements. We obviously want you to graduate high school, so we don't want to overlap and pull you into classes with us and you happen to miss something that you need to graduate. So they'll look at those things and then talk to you about what your next steps are. The good thing is registration is getting ready to happen in the high schools. And so this is a perfect opportunity for you to bring this up when you do registration, and they can help you identify a pathway in courses. Once you're interested and you know that you're eligible, there is an application that you would complete online through CFNC. And many of you probably already have a CFNC account. So you can just use the account that you already have created. You'll apply to our college, Davidson-Davie Community College, and specifically to the Career and College Promise program. And then from there, we get you enrolled. And then once you are registered, we offer a new student orientation to help you get started. We don't just throw you out there. We definitely help you log into your accounts, make sure you know how to get into everything. We talk to you about purchasing your books. And that's one thing I did not mention in the beginning. That is the only piece that is a required fee for students, as you do pay for your textbooks. But during orientation, we talk about ways to save and how to do that as cheap as possible. Okay, so we definitely walk you through that. So new student orientation is offered typically over the summer before you start in the fall. And so we'll make sure you're ready to get started once you register. So I think that covers everything. Are there any questions? I know we had one in the chat. I believe we've answered that one. Are there any others? You're welcome to put questions in the chat, or you can unmute yourself.
All right, well, it looks like, oh, we do have one question. It says, are there courses that do not require textbooks?
There definitely are. We have a few that don't require a textbook, and so we can share those with you. What I would recommend is maybe mentioning that to your CDC, and that's something they can email us about, and we would be happy to give you that list. But there definitely are some that don't require textbooks. And I'm going to drop in the chat our email address. So if you have specific questions, you can email there as well. Will these classes be taken online or at the college? So it really depends on what you prefer. So we obviously have classes that you can take on our campus. And we have been, even in the midst of COVID, we still have been meeting face-to-face some. And I anticipate that for the upcoming school year as well. If you prefer online, maybe you don't want to drive to campus or you would not feel comfortable being on campus, most of our courses, at least in the transfer area, are offered online. Now, if you were to take a technical program, something like cosmetology or nurse aid, because those are hands-on, you would be required to come to our campus. So there's really kind of a mix. It just depends on what you prefer. And we do teach sometimes on high school campuses as well. Are there flight school classes there? I think that one comes just to me directly. And Joseph, there are not flight school classes at Davidson-Davie. Sorry.
All right, if there are no other questions, Anissa and I will stay on for just a little longer to see if anyone has something to ask. But otherwise, thank you, Anissa, for joining us today and for answering all of our questions on this wonderful program. We really appreciate your time. And if no one else has any questions, thank you for coming, and you are welcome to go ahead and hop off. But like I said, if you want to stay on to ask one of us something, we'll be on for about the next 5 or 10 minutes. So.
Thank you.